Copy 724, Roger. Trying to maintain 2,000.
Maintain 2,074.
Comment 504 to center maintain 3,000.
3,000, comment 504. And for Captain 724, is our traffic about our 1230?
That's 12:31 o'clock, Captain 724 now.
Okay, we got it.
Captain 724, maintain visual separation. Mechanic air clear visual approach, runway 4 right.
This is visual 4 right, maintain visual separation from traffic, Captain 724.
Comment 504, reduce speed of 170 per tower space. You can follow the Boeing 727, 1 o'clock, 6 miles right base, descending on 3,500.
We got to hit this side with 4
Comment 504, follow traffic, clear visual approach, runway 4 right, maintain 170 knots, 5 mile funnel.
170 till 5 out.
Captain 724, maintain 170 knots, 5 mile funnel, contact Boston Tower,
5 mile final, Captain 724.
Comment 504, traffic behind the left being an Embraer 135 to the parallel runway that maintains visual separation from the ocean.
504. Descending on the airport, sir.
Take a 570, clear visual approach, runway 4 left.
There they go, 57.
Take a 470, traffic, 1238 miles, 3,600, descending for the parallels on our jet.
I'll look at 57.
Comment 504, contact Boston Tower, 132.22.
32.22, 504.
Okay, 170 till 5 final. cleared the visual 4 right at Canada 354. Okay, information Delta Nutcard Elm. Canada 3028, hourly weather update.
Bridge for the Embraer, clear visual bridge, runway 4 left.
Visual 4 left on bridge. One state dash site, maintaining visual separation, contact Boston Tower 132.22. Okay, 3222 or Canada 354.
539, maintain at least 170 knots to 6 GMA, please.
17 to 60,
There you go, 539, thanks. Contact Boston Tower 128.8.
28 call.
Yes.
Gabby 724, right, center maintain 2000.
Center maintain 2074.
I'm at 504, the center maintain 3000. 3000, I'm at 504.
And for Captain 74 is traffic about our
That's 12:31 o'clock, episode 24 now.
Okay, we got it.
Yeah, episode 24, maintain visual separation, the Canada clear visual approach, runway 4 right.
Clear visual 4 right, maintain visual separation from traffic, Captain 74.
I'm at 504, we did speed of 170 for Tower Station. Just following the Boeing 727, 1 o'clock, 6 miles right station, sending out at 3500.
We got hit inside with going back 170 from 504.
I'm at 504, follow traffic, clear visual approach, runway 4 right, maintain 170 knots to 5 mile final.
170 so far out,
Yeah, 724, maintain 170 knots to 5 mile final, contact Boston Tower 132.22.
5 mile final, Captain 74.
I'm at 504, traffic behind the left being an Embraer 135 to the parallel only that maintains visual separation from you.
504. Just staying as the airplane today.
Single 570, clear visual bridge, runway 4 left.
There it is, 570.
Single 470, traffic, 1238 miles, 3,600, descending for the parallels on RJ.
Hour looking 570.
Comment 504, contact Boston Tower 132.22.
Boston Tower 128.8.
28.8, take it easy, 57.
Yeah.
Centuries ago, famed mathematician Katherine Johnson wrote, "The whole idea of going into space was new and daring. There were no textbooks, so we had to write them." Now, the United Federation of Planets stands on a new brink of exploration and learning, yet again pushing beyond the bounds of contemporary understanding, and for a new dawn proclaim proudly once again, these are the voyages of.
Captain's log. We've rendezvoused with the Romulan ship Draken to collaborate with their crew on new engine upgrades. While the Serenitis is almost fresh out of a refit, the Admiralty and Fleet Operations believe this to be an opportunity to further the goodwill built during the Dominion War. Both ships will be relatively open to members of both crews. The chief engineer of both vessels will be comparing the engines of the two ships to discover a basis for collaboration. This will also allow for Commander Cooper to follow up on his initial contact with the Romulans during our diplomatic conference some months back.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Voyages of. I'm Matt, your intrepid storyteller, and I have to realize how to get to my script. There it is. Hey, welcome back to the Voyages of here on Rook and Rasp. We'll be following the story of the USS Serenitis as it continues its mission to explore the Gamma Quadrant. We're using the Star Trek Adventures RPG rules from Modiphius. As a reminder, we are no way affiliated with Modiphius. We just really enjoy their game. I'm joined tonight by Amber Jacoba playing Commander Halata, Jen Brazis playing Commander Anbara Anya, John Kennedy playing Lieutenant Commander Charlie, and Phil Durham playing Lieutenant Commander Zeke Cooper. Tonight, you've got some channel points down there. You can see them underneath the chat. It's a little magnifying glass. Those are our Clue Thulus, and you can spin those to give us momentum, give me threat. That's the most important expenditure you can make. Also do some rerolls. You also have the ability to tip with bits and or money. The money is on a link down below the video you're looking at now, but the bits are just stuff you buy through Twitch like normal. If you want to do that and you want to tip that and create an NPC, that's great. There is a tipping menu that I have not put up yet, but I'm sure that it'll pop. I don't know. We'll get it in chat here shortly because I forget what the command is. I really don't know what the command is. That's all right. We'll get there. If you want to create an NPC, you just let us know, and we will figure out what you need to do from there. We did have one made last week, so we have Chief Dinkler. He's one of our engineers. He's a Denobulan, and he's a pretty good guy. He's good friends with Mr. Minkler, the security officer. So, also, just a heads up, between now and the 13th, for the next 2 weeks, any subscriptions or donations through Ko-Fi are going to be sent to the Red Cross for their work in the Ukraine. So if you want to subscribe tonight or between now and the 13th, all of that will go over to all the proceeds that we would normally get from that will go over. Twitch still takes their part. And anything through Ko-Fi, you can find the Ko-Fi link here shortly. As soon as I remember my windows. The Ko-Fi link will be up as well. It might actually be down below the chat as well. But you should definitely let us know if you can't find that, and we will find it for you and make sure you have access to that. We're happy to assist in what ways we can with the scary stuff going on in the world. So, let's talk about tonight. Tonight, we find the Serenitis kind of in an empty area of space around a desolate planet, around a small star with no other real planets around it. Next to the Serenitis, and almost larger than the Serenitis, is a Valdor-class ship, a Romulan ship, called the Draken. So this large greenish ship that kind of looks like a bird. Hey, there's our tips. That kind of looks like a bird is kind of hanging out next to the Serenitis with not much around it. And as we kind of, watch the turbo lift doors open on engineering, we find Commander Anbara and Commander Charlie kind of looking at the engineering table that they use so often in the Next Generation, and with them are two Romulans whose names have escaped me, but I'm gonna go find those real quick. It is a sub commander and a sub lieutenant. As soon as my drive loads, I will tell you their names. I was really on top of this until this very moment. I almost had it. We'll get there, though.
Before we find out their names, what are we showing them? Just so that Charlie doesn't commit treason.
No, that's so the intention is to compare engine schematics and look for ways to enhance either side's engine use. There are plenty of things that are classified about the engines. They have all been considered open for this discussion to give to show the Romulans a chance, a future where the Romulans and the Federation work openly together. So it is actually, well, there we are. I'm sorry, it's Sub Commander Setha, a woman, a Romulan woman, and then Lieutenant Charum is a Romulan man. They're both engineers. They've both been working on the Draken since it launched. That answer your questions,
Yeah.
Charlie?
So, Charlie, I was just writing the name down.
Sure.
Charlie is probably really excited just talking about warp fields because that is his jam. And he's probably got the schematic up, and he is just literally just going on about his favorite bit of Federation design. So as you can see here with the Bussard collector, named after the guy who invented it, so we can just collect all the little space dust that's out there and convert it into more fuel by powering the antimatter reactions. The antimatter collides with this, and boom, we get more energy. Isn't that amazing?
So they are both taking, like, on their Romulan data pads, like, taking notes and then, like, comparing them. And then Setha kind of taps a couple of times and then moves her pad near your table, and it seems to transfer the data immediately, which isn't all that unsurprising. It's something that can be done, but the fact that they're already tapped into your system was not something you were expecting. And she says, these are how we handle ours. The Draken, or the Valdor class, is slightly different from previous class ships. We don't require the same size to handle our engine that we had with the older classes. But we don't need matter or antimatter. So I don't know that the engines or the power itself is what's going to help. Maybe the manipulation of the warp field is where we can look. And then she taps a couple things on the table, and it brings up how they modify it. Do either of you... I don't think either one of you have linguistics, though, do you?
I do.
Oh, you do? Where are you at? There you are. Fantastic. Okay. Can you give me a reason and... We'll call it reason engineering with linguistics as a focus.
What difficulty?
2.
You guys mind if I use a momentum?
Use two.
Fantastic. So that'll put us down to 3 momentum.
I get 3 successes.
Fantastic. So that's going to generate a momentum. What you're seeing is that they manipulate the warp field in a not too unfamiliar way, but definitely in a way different than what Starfleet does. What you're used to is a little more straightforward and kind of by the books, and this is very clearly just like it's very clearly a rough handling of the warp dynamics. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that you're used to a much smoother, like, finesse manner, and it's just a very much it's more of a like a hammer looking for a nail is what they do, and you guys are like a nice soft saw when it comes to how you handle warp field dynamics.
Do I see a way that we could make their design more elegant?
You have some ideas on how you can apply some of what the Federation does to theirs, and some of what they do to the Federations to improve the output on both ends. But it's going to take some calculations and some work. It's really a lot of there's a lot of work to be done here. Basically, the 4 of you and other engineers are going to be spending that time, the time that they're here with you, to kind of test, like, put this together, run some tests, run a holodeck simulation or two, just to see how it's all going to work, and then probably implement some changes and see how they work in a test flight. That's the kind of overall plotting of how this should go. But they, once you kind of like start talking about it and point things out, Charlie's on top of it right away. It was just a Romulan to, I don't know what.
He's one-upping me. I get
Saurian.
it.
Well, it's it's Romulan to Saurian translation is a little off, and Anbara just really picked up on it quicker because of the language skills, and that was really it. But the Romulans seem very interested in kind of a cool and calm way.
Yeah.
How can they stay cool and calm about warp field dynamics? It
They're
literally bends reality.
They're pretty cool about most things going on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna basically say like to Charlie's gushing and nerdity, like Umbara's more reserved and not openly sarcastic, but like she'll respond to the little jabs with little jabs of her own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There are a handful of other Romulans kind of speaking with lower rank officers and crewmen just about different aspects of engineering and the engine output itself. Rosrin has been over this whole plan with a very fine-tooth comb to make sure that anything that didn't want to be gotten by the Romulans is not accessible. So there's been a lot of work going into that on his end. But as far as the engineering goes, it's pretty open to anybody at this point that wants to come through. You know that there are some Romulans elsewhere on the ship, just taking advantage of the holodecks and getting to know those. There's also one that you know is meeting specifically with the commander and Commander Cooper as well. So we will actually switch over to that for a second. Commander Halada and Commander Cooper, you were the engineering teams came over and have been over for probably 3 or 4 hours at this point. Just exchange of information, getting to know each other, just some basic, regular diplomatic, like door openings. Commander Cooper, you were there to greet everybody at the transporter. You kind of walked people around and did introductions. And then after a while, it was very clear that the engineers were just going to nerd out about being engineers, and you quietly excused yourself. That's not your area of expertise. It's not where your strengths really fall. And then as you were kind of headed to report to Halada about what was going on, just as you're coming up on 10 forward, where Halada is at, kind of acting as host there, a Romulan woman kind of falls in step next to you, and you're not quite sure where she came from because you're in a hallway and there's no like offshoots anywhere. But suddenly she is just in step with you, next to you, and seems to be going the exact same place you are.
What time of day is it? I know it's going to answer that question, but
this is
do I
probably
say
like,
good morning, afternoon?
yeah, this is probably late afternoon by ship time.
Okay. Good afternoon. How are you?
I am quite well. I don't believe that we've met. I am Major Loken.
I am Lieutenant Commander Z. Cooper.
I was hoping, Commander Cooper, that you and I could talk, and perhaps your first officer could join us.
Well, I'm on my way to see her right now. If you could give me a few moments,
Sure.
I can see what I could arrange.
Absolutely. Zeke, can you give me a control command roll?
Absolutely.
Nothing really applies in this. It's going to be a difficulty of 2.
Are we at 3 or 4 momentum?
We are at 4.
Okay. And I'd like to use one if the
Sure.
party's okay with that.
That'll put us down to 3.
Oh wow, I got 3 successes because I did get a 13.
Fantastic. So that puts us back up to 4 momentum. Major is not a rank in the Romulan Navy. It is a rank in the Tal Shiar.
Okay. Can I use my gained momentum to gain additional information?
Absolutely. What would you like to know?
Where in the rough hierarchy is that? Is that middle? Is that low? Is that high?
Ironically, their ranks follow very much American military ranks. So major's above captain, below colonel. So this is a pretty high-ranking officer. But they don't have the same numbers as the American military. So like, there may not be a ton of majors, but there's also not a ton of colonels or generals. Like, they're a smaller group than what you would expect.
So one of my talents is studious. So whenever I spend 1 or more momentum to obtain information, I may ask 1 additional question.
Absolutely.
So the second question I have is that something I would suspect is being inflated or deflated?
How do you mean?
Would I suspect that this major is actually a major, or is probably exaggerating their position and they're lower, or perhaps the opposite of exaggeration? It's like they're actually higher up, but they're just saying they're a major.
So being a major in this instance probably makes sense. You didn't pick up any boastfulness about it. It was just a statement of rank. And a Romulan lying about rank in a situation like this would be a little dangerous for the Romulan. Even especially since they would be claiming to be a rank in the Tal Shiar, they are not. So it feels pretty solid that that rank is what they're claiming is correct.
How much time do I have before I get to...
You guys walk up on the Dapple Doe, like right then, like right as you were saying, give me a couple of minutes. You would also have to guess that the major already knows where the commander is, and that's why the major met you where they did.
Oh yeah, I kind of assumed that.
So as the doors to the Dapple Doe open, the major kind of takes a hard right turn and goes off to a table by herself, and leaves you to go approach the commander on your own.
So I would approach the commander. Whatever, clock direction I would say to point to the person or whatever without pointing out.
Yeah.
On my 12 is a Tal Shiar agent that's contacted me. A major.
Okay. Did they mention what they would like?
They said that they wanted to speak to the 2 of us.
Let's go see what they have to say.
All right.
As you approach, Doff is leaving the table, having taken an order, and as the 2 of you sit, Commander, do you have a drink already?
Yeah, something.
Okay. The major says, "I've taken the opportunity to order both of you drinks. Commander, you'll be getting a refill, and then Mr. Cooper." Well, first, let me ask you, Mr. Cooper, as Matt, what's your character's favorite drink? Not Romulan ale, obviously.
Obviously not Romulan ale. Had to really hope this Romulan is not ordering me illegal, deadly Romulan ale. Let's go with bourbon.
Okay. She says, I've ordered you a type of bourbon that I found while visiting some Andorians. It's an ice bourbon. I'm not sure if you've had it, but I found it in comparison to what you would get from the area of Kentucky on Earth. I found it comparable while having a different kind of spice, kind of flavoring. I hope you enjoy it.
Thoughtful.
So,
Wish I could repay the favor.
I'm sure that we can figure out a way for that to happen. I wouldn't want you to be in the debt of a Tal Shiar officer. I'm sure that's an uncomfortable position for anyone within the Federation. Some months ago, Commander, Mr. Cooper, you were contacted by another agent of the Tal Shiar. Is that correct?
Dr. Cooper. And I would expect that your research would already know that.
It would. Doctor, I believe that you were contacted and offered the chance to open dialogue. And I have the impression that you, as a proper Starfleet officer, passed that information along and did nothing to interact with that without orders. Is that correct?
Is this what you're expecting for finding an interesting beverage? Some information which you may or may not already know?
I want to make sure that I start my foot in this conversation correctly so that I understand the situation as it has happened to this moment.
I'm sure we're all on the same page.
Exactly.
Kind of give a side eye to the commander to see if she gives me a nod or anything to continue sharing.
I mean, the Tal Shiar are like the shady spy organization, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we're trying to actually be on good footing with them?
For the most part, after Cooper sent information to Starfleet Command about what was given to him, nothing has been said.
Okay.
No, don't make contact. No, make contact. Just silence from Starfleet Command, which doesn't mean anything. It could mean that the intelligence arm of Starfleet is doing things you're just not aware of.
Right. Yeah, I'll give you the nod. Like, use your discretion. But we're trying to actually be peaceful with these people, so talking to their spies is not, especially when they're being open about being their spies, is not that huge a deal.
Yes, we have not used it.
Excellent. The information you were given is perfectly fine. I am not concerned about that. The agent did everything he was supposed to. We were hoping that there would be communication between the Federation and the Romulans by now. The Romulan Star Empire by now. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have happened. And we understand that there could be some trepidation about working with us, especially while we rebuild. So, what I'd like to do is open. I believe the human term is clear the air, and maybe we can come to an understanding on what parts of things beyond engine dynamics that we can perhaps work together on.
Do we have any guidance on that from higher up, or is it just...
Do you know that as far as the Starfleet has given you, be friendly with the Romulans and attempt to go from... Prior to the Dominion War, it was a very confrontational relationship. During the Dominion War, it was still kind of confrontational, but there was a lot of working together, and they want the Starfleet Command wants that to continue and work towards something formal as an alliance.
May Commander. Perhaps I will ask for an offering of good faith to begin. I would like to know more about how the Tal Shiar is structured and your not necessarily goals. I certainly can't expect you to divulge something like that, but values perhaps. The impression I have of the Tal Shiar would be that of the past perhaps is that any one of you would stab anyone else in the back if it got you further up the chain and more power. So why would we work with someone knowing that they're going to stab us in the back?
Those are incredibly well thought out concerns. I wouldn't disagree with you were this 8 years ago, perhaps, prior to the Tal Shiar, the former Tal Shiar, and the Obsidian Order working together. I think that given the dramatic failure of that joint operation and the rebuild that had to come from that, even during a war, our composition and our goals have changed slightly. I won't say that our goals have ever been anything other than protect the Star Empire above all else. I think that would be fair. I think any member of your intelligence community would also say the same thing. In fact, I think that both of you as Starfleet officers would say that as well. But there's more than just that. We are brutal in our efficiency. But this is a new era for the Tal Shiar. This is less about working our way up a ladder and more about rebuilding in a way that is much more conducive to working with other members, even within our own organization.
Thank you for sharing that. I can certainly see, as a person who wants the betterment of all, that would be a very appealing argument. How can we work together? What are your goals in the short term here?
My personal goals are to, maybe not in the Alpha and Beta quadrants. There's much more going on there than I can really speak to. But in the Gamma quadrant, perhaps an understanding that if help is needed, a Romulan ship could also be called. Or, in our instance, a Federation ship could be called. Although I would argue that that's always been the case. That is kind of the Federation policy.
For worse. Well, I can certainly think that we would both speak to our captain.
If there's more of that would be needed to discuss, or even if it meant sharing perhaps fleet movements, we would be willing to take the first step and make that available as best we can. I think you all both understand that ships are where they're supposed to be until there's an emergency, and then they're nowhere near where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think that happens far too often. But I also know that you've had some trouble with a group called the True Way, and there's concern about that and the implications.
Are they causing problems for you as well?
They are not. And that is interesting, because they seem to be focused on the Federation specifically.
That is interesting.
I'm not sure if that's because the Federation controls the wormhole, essentially, or because there are still what they would probably call occupying troops on Cardassia. But they have had no interaction with us. In fact, some of them have gone out of their way to stay far clear of us. And I'm not quite sure why that would.
Very interesting.
I would also like to offer some intelligence that I think would be of interest. There was a planet that you found that had Bajorans and Cardassians on it.
Mhm.
Those Cardassians were sent back through the wormhole to be sent back to Cardassia. I know for fact that none of them are on Cardassia. They were all recruited by an organization within or next to, I think that might be a better suggestion, better term, next to the Federation, called Section 31.
Do I know anything about Section 31?
Why don't I have you roll me control command, or I'm sorry, reason command.
Reason command.
Nope. Galactic politics would apply.
Okay.
It's going to be a difficulty of 3, though. And if Zeke wanted to help, he could. Reason and command would be his role as well.
See if I can assist. Sure.
I would like to buy a momentum.
Sure. That'll put you guys down to 2.
Oh, I did not assist. I was close though. I got an 11.
I got 5 successes.
So that's going to generate 2 momentum. That'll put us back up to 4.
Wow. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Critting on a 5 or under is nice.
Oh, and Michael, Dustbuster Imp, has purchased 2 more momentum.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Michael.
He is also the one that we can thank for Chief Dinkler, who's currently down in
Excellent.
engineering, talking about engines with other engineering nerds.
We're not nerds. We're the cool kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Who needs people? Like machines are way more awesome. You know what you can expect from a machine.
right.
And then if it does something that you don't expect, you can just bend it to your will and make it do what you need it to do, which is way better than a person.
Exactly. So, what you know from that role, which was a heck of a role, Section 31 is an intelligence agency that supposedly was set up during the founding of the Federation to operate outside of Starfleet and outside of any real oversight. At certain points throughout Federation history, Section 31 has been large and very dangerous. During about a century ago, there was enough that had a base of operations as well as several ships. That has ceased to be, and now they operate more of individual agents that are often not known and are assigned as normal Starfleet officers. So, for instance, hypothetically, anyone on your ship could be Section 31, including bridge and command crew.
Not
but
Minkler, right?
Yeah, definitely Minkler. Section 31 would have burned down by now. You would have known exactly where it was. He would be wearing a giant neon sign. But for instance, like literally, they are good enough that any of the command crew could be a member of Section 31, and there would be nothing really in the records or anything that would notify that.
So are they like specifically anti-Federation, or are they just kind of, do they view themselves as trying to keep large government in check? Like what What is their deal?
So imagine like the CIA, but nobody like really paid attention to what they did, and they did atrocious, horrible things, like infected a whole species with a disease so that they would lose a war.
Oh,
And that disease was so terrible that it almost committed genocide on that entire species.
okay.
So that's why the Dominion War ended. Section 31 infected the changelings with a wasting disease that they couldn't fix. And that's what caused them to that was a big part of what caused the end of the
Okay.
and when confronted about it, Section 31 was like, well, but it worked, right?
Eh, Cool,
So-
cool, cool.
So
I'm
yeah.
so that gives me that in character not pleased about them going off and joining yet another organization I got to deal with. Awesome. Awesome, awesome.
I would be willing to share some of the information that I found about that. Other parts of it I feel are perhaps a little too dangerous to share. It would expose it could potentially expose what information gathering sources I have.
Understandable. I'm going to be somewhat blunt here. What are you looking to gain out of this? Because so far you've told us what you want to give us.
I want to make sure that in the Gamma Quadrant, and no more than that at the moment, that there is a good working relationship between the Romulans and the Federation.
I believe our goals are completely aligned then.
I will be further open and say that the Tal Shiar is incredibly weak, and in my mind that makes the Romulan Star Empire weak. I don't think that the Federation's intelligence skills are as good as ours would be if we had our better numbers, but I would not say that the Federation are what the humans call them, slouches. You definitely have skilled individuals running your intelligence agencies, and I would like to make sure that if something came up that could be shared, that it would be shared.
They have a different command structure than I do, but I can definitely pass that along with the information you have given us.
I would expect that your captain sees a lot more intelligence information than perhaps even the two of you do.
Yes.
It's my understanding he is operating almost at an admiralty level than just a captain, and it is only a matter of time before he's promoted.
Yeah, I think it's just how many ships are out here.
And I would expect that he already knew that I was going to be on this ship.
Mhm.
He had to have known at least of my presence on the Draken. It hasn't been hidden, but I'm also one member of the Tal Shiar on a ship. There's a total of 5 Tal Shiar members here in the Gamma Quadrant. You've met 2 of the 5.
You,
Thank you for your trust in us.
you've certainly demonstrated a lot to make me believe that Tal Shiar changed and maybe are worthy of trust.
I will still stab people in the back, don't worry. It just will be mutual enemies, not just anyone. There's there's a creepy, weird Romulan smile at the end of that just is a little unsettling.
Selective backstabbing.
Exactly.
Well, enjoy your stay on the ship.
Of course. I will be around and available, staying away from any sensitive areas.
Thank you.
At some point, Dolph brought over drinks for everybody and left, probably in the middle of the conversation. It is clear that the Major is drinking like earth drinks, things that are familiar to you, Zeke, but it seems to be quite comfortable with them. It's not like, ooh, let's try this new thing. It's more of a, I've had this before and I'm gonna enjoy it again.
Suppose we'll need to write a couple reports, Commander, for the captain.
Suppose we do. I believe I need to be here a little bit longer just to make sure everyone settles in okay. But after that, I will get that done.
All right. I'm gonna check up on a few things. I'm sure we've got another busy day tomorrow.
Every day is a busy day.
So how much longer do you stay, Commander?
Basically just making sure everybody's like comfortable with where they can and cannot be, that there's not going to be any fights, and then I'll let security do the rest.
Can I get you to give me an insight command roll? We'll say diplomacy will apply.
What's the difficulty?
Difficulty's 1.
I got 1 success.
Fantastic. So the bartender, Dolph.
Mm-hmm.
Doff. His name is Doff. It's not Dolph. Doff. He seems more than friendly with the Major, and while he doesn't seem to know the other Romulans, he seems to speak Romulan. And just interacts with everybody without much of an issue. Kind of, you're not sure if it's like some part of it is just kind of like a social chameleon, or just that maybe he spent more time around Romulans prior to his time as a bartender on the Serenitis.
Well, and Doff has some interesting old friends anyway, so...
It's true.
I'll make a mental note to talk to him about that when he's not on shift.
Sure.
Or when it's less busy.
Let's switch back over to our engineering buds. So you guys have been spending probably the last hour or so like going over ideas for how to improve both kinds of engines and the warp dynamics. What I'd like to get from you guys is some control engineering roles. I would say, yeah, control engineering. I would let you roll control science as well. Warp field dynamics will definitely apply. There's no difficulty set on this. This is going to be kind of more of an extended task to see how long it takes you guys to kind of incorporate things with the other crew.
Cool. I got 0 successes for my first one.
Nice.
I got 3.
Which is absurd because like oh wait, no, I take it back because it's control, right? So I got 1 success.
Okay. So the two of you work with the commander, or the sub-commander, and the lieutenant. You kind of go over several possibilities. You spend an hour or so kind of getting to understand the ideas behind what they're doing that you can apply to your warp dynamics. Can I get you guys to give me another?
This time I got 3.
Fantastic.
Got 0.
And Charlie has gotten deep into an idea that just is not producing anything. Kind of went down a rabbit hole, or I don't know, a Saurian hole. I'm not sure what animals you have on Saurian Prime.
We have rabbits. 9 feet tall.
Pukas?
6 limbs. Very scary.
You go into rabbit caves.
After that first hour, the second hour, there's some arguing, and not necessarily bad arguing, but more of a like two nerds arguing about theory and theoretical like physics kind of arguments, where neither one of you would disagree or agree with the other one, but neither one of you thinks the other one's stupid. Just that you come about it in totally different ways. But you kind of finally bring around the sub commander to the concepts you've got and how to apply them to their engine, to their warp field. Can I get one more roll from you guys?
All right, we got this. We are lizard bros. Got
3 successes.
Fantastic.
3 successes.
Fantastic.
Yes! Internet high five! Ugh.
Boom.
So you guys, you spend the better part of like you did a couple hours of meet and greet. And here's the engine, and here's how we do things, like some basic stuff prior to this, where you guys have just been talking back and forth. The first 2 hours, you got a little bit of back and forth. The last kind of 2 hours, which is what this last roll is, everything seems to start to click on both sides. They've taken quite a bit of notes. They've asked for clarification in ways that you were not expecting. So their notes on what you suggested actually makes sense for things to also for you to potentially implement in the engines. There's just been a lot of good like back and forth and collaboration here. And the more you get to know the two Romulans, can I get you both to give me an insight and we'll call it insight security. Difficulty is going to be a 1.
Success.
1.
Fantastic. So the more you talk with them, the more you get to know them, the more you realize that these two engineers are legitimate engineers. They are excited about the prospect. They weren't originally, and while they don't seem to be warming up in any way that either one of you have really like gained the concept of, having dealt with humans or Andorians or even Tellarites, like they definitely are very excited about this collaboration and can see a lot of benefit for both of you. And it's the efficiency and the betterment of these two things is not going to be some huge jump in warp field dynamics for either ship, but it's gonna essentially be going from like, oh well, we got 35 miles to the gallon to like we got 45 miles to the gallon. So it's gonna be way more efficient, and that's a benefit for both of you, but it's not some giant huge leap. It's just enough to make it better on both ends.
But like these are the things that engineers get really excited about.
Exactly. And so they're not emoting the same way you would expect other species to, but they are definitely excited. Hold on just a second.
And we speak engineer back at them. It was just like, oh yeah, no, we can improve this output by 3.5%. Isn't that incredible? Like, can you even believe that we would be able to do this? Like, wow.
There's also comments about how beautiful the warp field's gonna look when this is all done, because it'll smooth out all the rough stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yours will get more dynamic in how it looks.
I can't wait to see the new particles.
After a while, Chief Dinkler comes over and he says, Commander, maybe now would be a good time to go down to the holodeck and see if we can input these and get some testing done there.
I mean, like, she like looks like she really doesn't want to like go away from like the theory crafting, but then it's like, yes, I suppose you're right. We should put some of these into practice before we move further. Shall we?
The Romulans motion for you to lead the way. Dinkler grabs a couple of pads and transfer the information real quick. He has been, I know that we were joking last week, kind of useless like Minkler is, but he's not. He's a competent maintenance worker.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, Umbara wouldn't tolerate incompetence. Like,
yeah, no.
He'd be mysteriously locked in closets or something.
he has a tendency to kind of always like, not clean up, but like prepare for what you're gonna need. So like, You would have grabbed those pads, but he's already grabbed them and transferred the information, and he's ready to, like, right behind you. Just kind
He's
of
well trained.
Yeah. He's good at assisting. He's definitely and his rank is definitely not officer. He is just a crew member,
Mhm.
but he's a crew member that has been around long enough to get the rank of chief, and that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Like, he knows his stuff and has been doing it for a while. Plus, he's a Denobulan, and they're just friendly pains in the ass. Like, they are super friendly. You don't end up on a ship with a captain that's a Denobulan without dealing with a lot of, like, wow, this guy sure does smile a lot. I kind of hate it because it's too much. And that's what you get from Dinkler, too.
Oh,
So you
man.
guys head down to the main holodeck, which has been cleared of whoever else was using it, and input the information into it. Dinkler sits and programs a few things for a couple of minutes, and what you see is both kind of a 3D representation of the Serenitis and of the Draken. And as he puts in the information again, it brings up the warp field over both of them and how it looks to begin with. And then he says, okay, now watch me input these changes. And then as he does, you watch the warp fields change. I need both of you to give me, let's call it insight engineering or insight science if your science is higher. Warp field dynamics definitely work on both.
What difficulty?
Difficulty of 2.
I got 1.
Got 3.
3,
Nice.
fantastic. So Charlie, you can see there are a couple of things that need to be tweaked, which is always going to happen in kind of these testings. But overall, it looks good. And then the sub-commander comes over and he says, oh, I can see, like, he points out the things that you've already seen. Says, this here, we can bring this in a little bit by doing this, and shows you on the pad and, like, walks you through exactly the things that you're already seeing, and you kind of banter back and forth as you go through those. But it generally feels pretty solid, the conversation and how it goes.
Okay. Well, Charlie would just eat it up, and he would just. Even though the Romulan's probably not like treating Charlie the way that Charlie's treating the Romulan, Charlie's optimism and enthusiasm has not dimmed yet, and he occasionally will turn over to, like, to Anya to give her, like, like a high five or a science, yeah, look. But Charlie is just excited to be collaborating, but at the same time, Charlie's a little cautious, so he's very much keeping an eye on what he's sharing with the Romulan, and also taking as much notes as he can about Romulan tech. But for now, he gets to do 2 things he enjoys.
Talking to Romulans and engineering stuff?
Engineering stuff, and also pretending to be a spy. Which he's not very good at, but...
Oh. You guys spend probably another couple of hours working in the holodeck, talking through what's going on, how to better it, and how to implement it, what you guys want to do for the tests when you apply them to the ships themselves. And finally, there's a call from the Romulan ship requesting the 2 Romulans head back for the night. And you realize that by ship time, it's getting close to midnight. Like, you guys have been engineering it up for hours at this point.
I imagine, like, both of us are just kind of like those kids being told the play date's over. Like, but, we could just keep working for, like, what's another 20 minutes?
The sub-commander... Oh, go ahead.
Charlie's gonna look at the sub-commander and be like, wow, time surely flies when you're traveling at the speed of light.
There's a couple of blinks, and then he smiles and says, that's it's one of those Earth jokes, right?
Well, Charlie joke.
I think it was pretty good.
Charlie's just gonna wait till he gets it. Like, get it? Because moving fast at the speed of light.
Yes,
Warp
absolutely. I think it was a I think it was a fine joke. Yes, absolutely.
It is very admirable of you to humor him. It really demonstrates.
No, it's a fine joke.
Of course, like your commitment to this treaty is quite appreciated.
Wow, that is a hilarious joke. It kills at Sorry Science seminars. I'm just
I mean,
saying.
that is something that I believe. And you know, the evidence of its hilarity is definitely shown by the silence on its reception.
Is that
You know, there might just be like a language barrier. Let me turn off the Universal Translator and repeat it in the original Saurian.
Oh, I don't speak Saurian.
It's okay. It's a beautiful language.
Yeah.
So as they're walking towards the transporters, Charlie's just hissing very loudly.
As you guys
like that's not bad.
As you get to the transporters themselves, they both give you kind of like weirdly formal handshakes, like they've never shook hands before, and get on the transporter pad and beam back to their ship.
I don't know about you. I thought we did a great job. I mean, we were funny, we were polite.
Charlie still hasn't turned on his translator, so it's just.
You gotta, you know, I don't actually.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it went really, really well. And you know what? I'm just guessing that like the sub commander, Setha, I don't know. Maybe she learned something. Maybe we educated them. You know, and normally,
like we managed to knock those outputs up to 3.7%. I mean, I didn't even think that was possible. Like, obviously, I'd never say that in front of them. But I mean, come on! I didn't think that was possible.
yeah. And you know what? Killing it. You killed it.
You too. Like you were spotting all of those things that I didn't even notice. Like when you managed to notice how those particles were colliding and that was throwing off the readings in this way. Like, I didn't see that.
Yeah. You know what's actually kind of weird, now that I think about it? Did we learn anything from them?
No, you guys definitely did. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like again, and she like points to the pad, like look at how much extra force we were getting within our own output engines. Like granted, you know, like their outputs were not quite as elegant as ours, you know, whatever. But like now we get way more force.
You know what we need to do? We need to build our own like artificial singularity reactor. We could do it.
Oh,
we could totally do it.
Totally do it. There is nothing that can go wrong from this.
We have that spare ship in the hangar bay.
We do. Okay. So, all right. So do you feel like you can actually go to sleep right now? Because, like, you know, we could just go back to the holodeck.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's do that.
Are you guys both going back to the
holodeck? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unless we're required to report, in which case we'll do that. But if this is you work and then you get your break to go sleep or whatever, like a person, like, we're not doing that.
there is as you're kind of walking back, there's a chime reminder from your communicator that you do need to report at the end of the day.
Okay.
Because you both know yourselves and know that you'll get pulled too much into a project to remember that, like, oh, I should like go report in and let them know what I did today.
All right.
Especially with as potentially dangerous as the people on the ship are.
All right. So we'll report and then go back and try to mess with that reverse singularity engine. Because I think between the two of us that we can create something even better.
With overclocked engines.
Obviously.
Let's hop over to Zeke real quick. Zeke, it's been a few hours since the Major spoke with you and the commander. What have you been doing during that time?
So I imagine that he will have probably negotiated with Rosrin, like maybe like half hour like check-ins or whatever. So like his team's trying to make sure that we're being diplomatic, and obviously her team's making sure that they are where they're supposed to be and all those types of things. Just managing all of those types of situations and interactions.
Okay. Let's why don't we have you do a presence command roll? We will say that diplomacy applies. Difficulty is going to be a 2.
You said presence command.
Yeah.
Oof, only got one success.
Okay. Um, as far as you can tell, everything's going pretty smoothly. There's been, the security team is on heightened alert. I can't imagine Rosrin not having them all paranoid too. So there's been a lot of like additional security checks, maybe not necessarily hassling the. You can reroll that if you'd like. There's been a reroll purchased in the chat.
Here we go.
Thank you, chat.
Yeah, thank you. 2 successes.
Fantastic. So, not that the security officers are harassing anybody, but they are definitely keeping a tight thumb on everything. No, none of the Romulans have done anything wrong necessarily, but they've been reminded not to do things wrong, maybe more than once. And after a little bit of like conversation with Rosrin, there's been some like compromises made on how to handle that. Just a little lighter hand than necessarily a heavy hand that has been operated, especially since overnight there shouldn't be anybody here, but even if they are here past the ship's midnight time, they're still guests and not necessarily dangerous. Just knowing where they're at should be as much. Just needs to be done unless something happens. So you spend a lot of time filing reports and reading reports and checking on reports and doing a thing that a diplomat does when his underlings are working.
Yeah.
Halada, it's been a couple hours. Doff gets off at a certain time. Did you want to meet with Doff tonight?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you kind of, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes before Doff ends his shift, you call down to the Dapple Doe and ask him to report to the first officer's office. You think?
Yeah.
Okay. And he, of course, Commander. And it's maybe 10 minutes after his shift is done, and your door chimes and he comes in. As a reminder, he is a very large Orion, so he's probably close to 7 foot tall. He is barrel chested and kind of barrel bellied, like what you would expect, kind of not a bodybuilder so much, but like a strongman lifter kind of look to him. And not that he has ever done anything to threaten anybody, but he is clearly, it has been demonstrated that he has quite a bit of strength behind him. And he comes in and kind of sits down in the chair across from you, which makes it look kind of tiny and kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, "Commander, what can I help you with?"
Thank you for coming to see me.
Of course.
Do you know the Major from somewhere?
Are we speaking of the Romulan woman that you and Commander Cooper were speaking with?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know her as Major. Loken and I have known each other for a few years. There was a time when I wasn't working for the Orion Syndicate, but I had connections with them when you run a bar, there are times that people need things or want things that aren't necessarily easily gotten, and I had connections for that. And she strong-armed me, I would say. I don't know if that's the right term, but she definitely leveraged me to get information from the Orion Syndicate to track something down about Romulus, and I'm honestly not sure what it was. But afterwards, she was friendly enough to buy me a drink, and we talked. And I don't know if you've had the experience, but one night of good drinking with someone really can reinforce how you feel about them. And I've always found her to be maybe a little intense and harsh, but overall a good person to know and to have a drink.
Wonderful. I really just wanted to get your read on that, since you have quite a few interesting connections from your past. So
You said she's a major. That doesn't sound like Romulan Navy.
no, she told us. Is Toph a civilian?
Yeah,
Toph
he
a
is.
civilian? Okay. No, it is not a normal rank in the Romulan.
Would I, if I had to guess that she was a member of the Tal Shiar, would I be barking up the right tree?
You would not be barking up the wrong one.
I have found that if she tells me that in the past, when she's told me she's after something or wants something, she's very single minded about that. And that is her goal, and she won't stop till she gets it. I'm not sure how that applies in this situation, but if she's a member of the Tal Shiar, I can imagine that would in some potentially brutal ways.
I will definitely keep that in mind. And thank you very much for coming to speak with me.
Of course. If there's anything else that I can help with, I'd be happy to. I did notice that there were some other Romulans that I'm familiar with, but nobody I've really spent any other time with. But they all seem very excited about the idea of exchange of information.
It is very hard for me to tell with Romulans. It seems like you have a lot more experience with them than I do.
Yeah, they I mean, I don't think it's a secret that the Romulans and the Vulcans are similar. There's a reservedness within Romulans that, short of anger, because you don't want to see them angry, but short of anger, they seem to be more reserved and kind of tied up. And the Star Empire is it's a terribly difficult proving ground. You learn to hide a lot. So
But
look for more subtle responses. An eyebrow lift can mean a lot more than it does with humans or even Klingons, Cardassians even. Just they speak volumes when you learn them, but it does take a little.
yeah, I very much appreciate your insight in the situation, and I'm sorry that I called you after a long shift.
Oh no,
I hope you have
absolutely.
a good night.
My job is to make people happy all day. That's not the worst thing in the world. And I get to do it on a beautiful ship in a very strange area. We haven't even, nothing terrible's really happened on the ship. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, trying to keep the excitement off the ship as much as possible.
So yeah, he kind of gets up, and as he's getting ready to leave, chime at the door as Commander Umbara and Lieutenant Commander Charlie enter.
We are still chattering up the storm about random signs.
100%. like it's getting into the weeds.
Dolph just excuse me, Commander, and kind of slides right out of there as quick as possible.
Commanders, I take it went well?
Oh yes, definitely. Like again, we were able to increase the output. Like we're still testing, obviously, but 3.7%. And like she looks at it at Halada like this is a huge deal.
I respond as if it is.
Yeah, right? Incredible.
Wonderful. And no conflicts. Everything seemed to be going smoothly interpersonally.
Yeah, I mean, there were some I would probably attribute it to just the language barrier initially, and cultural differences at first, but the beautiful thing about machines is that technology is the great unifying force that doesn't actually need language to understand. So, engineers can all speak the same language when it gets down to making things more efficient.
Wonderful. So it looks like a lot was gained on both sides, or just
Oh, yes.
wonderful. Any concerns?
No, they seem like they were really interested in learning from us, and they took some of our theories to heart.
Yeah.
We have a really interesting idea that we're going to workshop and see if we can get working, and we may just have to log some time in the holodeck and in the hangar bay.
Yeah. And we might requisition some parts and components, but don't even worry about that. What I wanted to say is that they demonstrated a tremendous commitment to this exchange because Charlie made an awful joke and they actually attempted to understand it. I was really impressed.
It was a brilliant joke.
I am sure it was.
Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
At this point, the player's having a hard time remembering the joke.
Something
It's
about
okay.
light speed.
Yeah.
You can just assume that she facepalmed just like I did.
Yeah.
And
See,
then
see?
chuckles.
So that's what I'm saying. Like they attempted to. They said it was funny. I mean, they didn't laugh, but they said it was funny. So I feel like that gesture, in and of itself, definitely demonstrates the commitment to work with us. Because otherwise, why humor him?
Is your project going to blow up the ship?
No.
No, not this
Probably
ship.
not.
No.
What will it blow up?
Nothing important. Also, it might not blow up anything.
I would very much like a write-up on this before you start it.
We will definitely write something up.
Okay. You're gonna make it so that she cannot understand it, aren't you?
Oh, entirely. She's going to give the exact details of what they're doing with all of the jargon, and it'll be like 64 pages.
At least I tried.
I assume by now Halada has a program set to just translate engineering jargon into normal terms.
I would hope so.
That or a chief engineer on the ship that you're like, hey, can you read what my engineer wrote me and tell me what it means?
Right.
Are you
right.
seeing another engineer out the side?
I know that you two are probably exceedingly wired because collaboration on this level tends to do that, but I do recommend you get some rest. You have a busy day tomorrow, too.
We will take your recommendation under advisement, Commander.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So I know that's a no. All right. So yeah, thank you for coming to make your report. Please put one in writing after you get some rest, and have a good night.
That actually is going to be a great place for us to take a break. Before we go, we have some shows coming up. Tomorrow night is the Leaps and Bounties. This will be Chapter 7. That'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Nothing this week on Growing Shadows. So we'll be back on Sunday with Illuminated Page. That is at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm on that show as a fantastic character. That'll be great. Next week, we're back with, ironically, the exact same people. All 5 of us will be back next Monday. Although Phil will be where I'm sitting and I will be where Phil is sitting, and we will have more shenanigans, and it'll be great. So come back out for the Voyages of episode 21, the name of which is escaping me.
Telemara?
Yes, Telemara. There you go. Yeah, come back for those. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we will be right back. So stick around. Don't go too far. Stretch your legs, get some water, and we will be back in just about 10 minutes.
Soon.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Voyages of. Sorry. Welcome back. Hey, don't forget you can still tip or spend channel points. I'm sure you're aware of that. As a reminder, subscriptions tonight and through the 13th, and any donations through Ko-Fi will be sent to the Red Cross for their work in Ukraine. If you wanted to help out there, that would be great. Don't forget that you can follow us if you haven't already. You just want to click that follow button. It's right below the screen, down that way, I think. Or that way. It's down just below the screen. Once you hit that follow button, though, you can also just click it again, and it's going to say, hey, you wanted to subscribe, and the answer is yes. Yes, you did. You can get a free subscription through Amazon Prime if you have an membership. All you have to do is kind of connect the two accounts, and it will let you subscribe for free. That didn't cost you anything, but it gives a little bit of money to the channel. In this case, to the Red Cross for their help at their work in Ukraine. I think that's all we've got to remind you about. That's what my notes say. Good deal. And we'll be getting back to the story, starting with so the night has gone past. Oh, surprise! I guess there is a Growing Shadows game this week. It'll be Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Sorry about that. I counted my weeks right, but I forgot that there was an announcement other places that I missed altogether. So that's kind of my fault. So we're gonna pop back into the next day, bright and early the next morning. The Romulans were over at an inappropriately early time. Did Unbar and Charlie stay up all night playing? I mean, working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like they were on a roll. So.
Okay. Can I get both of you to give me, let's say, fitness?
Oh God.
We'll do fitness and half of reason.
Coffee's a thing. We could just have a lot of coffee.
You
And
could.
you would be able to
Cheetos.
tell.
What? I don't need you guys on space meth.
Fitness and I'm sorry. What again?
Half of reason.
Okay. All right. What is the difficulty?
We're looking for one success, but the more you get, the better.
Okay.
Just one.
Okay.
I got 2.
Fantastic. Charlie, you are feeling a little lethargic. You're a little tired, but nothing you can't work through. Unbara, you hit a stride some point in the night, and you're still riding that energy
She
wave.
was an engineer during the occupation.
Right,
okay?
right.
So like staying up all night to solve problems, like.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the two of you are like probably not, I wouldn't say out of uniform by any means. Probably one of you or both of you have like taken off the jacket and are just in the vest.
Mm-hmm.
And like nobody's hair looks like it's kept well, and like Dinkler has gone to bed and come back by this time.
He's bringing us the Ractachinos.
Yeah, he like showed up bright and early, like scratching and yawning, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are still."
No.
Back.
What I imagine is that it's like literally like Amphara doesn't even notice that he's gone. She just holds her hand out, and then there's a Ractachino in it. It's like, oh,
exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly. So the Romulans show up like what is essentially, they left at like midnight, and they show up at like 5:30 in the morning, and they both look like they have slept for days. They don't look tired at all. And one of them, the sub-commander, sets a pad down in front of you, Unbara, and says, I tweaked a couple of things. And if I understand from our intelligence, your weapon system, this should boost the output to both the engines and the weapon systems. And looking over it, can I get you to give me, let's say, control and engineering? And electroplasma power systems will apply.
Is the difficulty?
Difficulty's 2.
Okay. Right, I will roll.
And we are still at 6 momentum, so we are capped.
Okay. 3.
Okay, so you are going to generate a momentum.
Yeah, but I will use that momentum for more information.
Fantastic. The sub-commander's correct. She's worked out kind of how to like strengthen the flow while your power core is running. I'm having trouble with while your warp core. That's the words I'm looking for. While the warp core is running, there's a way that you can split the flow of energy for the engines and for the weapons that doesn't degrade them as much. It's maybe 10% difference in power, but also like that's not a bad number either.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And looking through it, you don't see it. It's there's nothing here that suggests that it would blow anything or that it would cause power to go wrong. Hold on, I'm sorry. Would you quit?
Is that Duke?
Yeah, he just knocked over a whole bunch of stuff and seems mad at me for putting it there.
That is a cat for sure.
Yeah, how dare you put obstacles in his path? The audacity.
Startled the crap out of me. So, I don't remember what I was saying. So, yeah, it's good. Whatever he did, or she did. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, no, the nothing, it doesn't seem to put any danger in the actual ship. Just like, there's some clear, like, finagling here. Tiny tweaks here and there that just kind of all add up to about a 10% increase.
Nice.
And there's, as far as we can tell, like, no sign of anything untoward or...
Well...
Oh, okay.
She did say, according to our intelligence, and this is stuff, especially weapons, that should be classified, which means that she has enough information about your classified systems that she could figure this out. Which she didn't say she stole the information from your ship. She said the information was already stolen, so I just used it.
Charlie's just going to look up from his coffee, be like, and how did you get such detailed knowledge of our weapon system?
I'm not positive where this particular one came from, although I do believe there was a Galaxy-class ship that was derelict during the Dominion War that some Tal Shiar members might have gotten on and raided the information banks.
How interesting. That would explain why the weapon systems are outdated. And he is very clearly trying to lie, and he's probably doing it very poorly, Matt.
I just imagine Ampara's just standing there while Charlie's trying to lie, like...
Well, the good news is that I rolled very poorly. I got a complication. So the complication is they believe you.
Yes!
And it's like one of those situations like where Ampara's just like, these are intelligent. I mean, I know that the Obsidian Order always talked shit about the Tal Shiar, but maybe they were right. But like, she ain't saying shit. She's just like,
right. So yeah, you guys start working again on everything. They get to the point where you've gone through several testings. You've tested in the holosuite, you've tested through running computer simulations. The next thing is to implement the changes on one of the two ships and run them and see how the engines do. So the question is, do you want to do it on the Serenitis or do you want to do it on the first?
Their ship, because we want to see their engines.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So why don't I get you... We're going to do another extended task again. Why don't I get you guys to give me reason and engine... so there's no difficulty. Just you want as many successes as possible. Warp field dynamics is definitely going to apply, so you'll both get the action, focus. So go ahead and give me that first roll. So 3. And from Charlie?
2.
Did you say 2? Okay. So you begin. You guys beam over to the Draken. Kind of get settled up in engineering. There's a little bit of trouble for a moment or two, as you know, this is all in English or all in Romulan, and the visual doesn't translate by the universal translator. And then the subcommander apologizes and hits a couple of buttons, and essentially it translates the input for you.
That's handy.
The two of you sit and work with them for, I don't know, better part of an hour. Little less Rataginos this time because, you know, there's no Dinkler. He didn't come over. He's still maintaining things on the other ship. But everything goes well. Let's get you to give me another roll. Wow.
Are you saying that the Romulans are poor hosts?
No, just not as good as Dinkler. Dinkler's got skills. He has spent 14 years in handing a cup of coffee school to people.
No?
So I got 1 and a complication.
Fantastic. That will go well with my 2 complications I rolled on my 2 dice.
Ah.
You're playing the wrong game.
I know, right? I would have double crit. That would have been great. How'd you do, Charlie?
3.
3 successes.
You.
So you guys set up and finalize everything. Everything seems like it's going to work out just fine. As the engines kind of start up, everything seems to be going well. The captain transfers helm control down to engineering so that it can be maintained while watching the engine, so that it's a quicker response time. The lieutenant kind of takes over the helm control while the subcommander observes the engine output, and they take you guys to a low warp 2, and then increase, and as you're watching the numbers, everything seems to be working correctly. And then very suddenly something seems to go wrong.
Oh no.
I need both of you to roll fitness security. It's a difficulty of 2.
Oh no.
Oh no. I'm stealing a momentum.
Sure.
Just the 1.
So, so first of all, do any of our special foci apply?
No.
Okay.
And
So then I get 2 successes and another complication.
Did you only get 1 success, Charlie?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Charlie, you're gonna take some damage. Ooh.
Well, that's rude.
You are tossed by the ship. Something happens and the ship is ripped out of warp. And in such a violent fashion that it tosses almost everybody in engineering around. Charlie, unfortunately, you are tossed pretty hard. You take 6 stress as you kind of bounce off one of the consoles really hard. And you're not knocked unconscious, but you're definitely knocked a little loopy.
That's more than half my stress, so yeah.
Yeah. On Bara, you're going to take 3 stress from the same thing. That complication, though, is that it's going to cause an injury. We're going to call it a broken arm for right now. Nothing that can't be fixed pretty quickly, but you've got a broken arm, and it's uncomfortable.
Ah.
It's okay, your fall was broken by your arm.
I imagine it's a thing where she just sort of like makes the sling and is like grimacing in pain the whole time, but like, no, there's engineering problems to solve.
Well, before you can do that, the ship itself is spinning almost out of control.
Oh no. Okay.
The lieutenant has been knocked unconscious. The subcommander is holding on and trying to do something. I need the two of you to decide how you want to assist.
Definitely helping with ad hoc repairs if possible.
Okay.
Charlie will be doing his best to try to figure out a way for us to get back to safer warp, to try to get back to where we were.
Okay. Let's have Charlie. Let's have you roll control and science, and then Anbara, I'm gonna have you roll control and engineering. Both these are gonna be a difficulty of 3.
But can I use my focus in subspace fields to help with this?
Absolutely, you can.
Please use your momentum.
I'm gonna use a point of momentum as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. So that'll put us down to 5.
That's what I want. Oh.
What?
I don't like that sound.
It's okay. I've got 3 successes. That's really good. Really, really good.
And a complication.
And a complication.
What do you need me to roll, Matt?
Control engineering.
Okay.
Not a 20. That's what he needs. Don't roll 20.
And degree of difficulty is
Difficulty is 3.
okay.
Charlie, you've got to reroll if you want to reroll that 20.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reroll.
Can I get I want to spend another momentum for a third dice if that's cool with everybody.
That'd be perfect.
Please do.
4 successes.
Also, as a
Oh
reminder,
God! Oh God! I need to take a picture of this roll. What the fuck? Oh my God!
as a reminder, Charlie, when you spend momentum to get extra dice on science tasks, you get a free reroll.
So if anyone wants to give me a reroll,
We're actually gonna call the one that Tentacle Grave gave because he could reroll with his.
yeah, I got.
We're gonna call it for you. You can go
I
ahead
got
and roll.
2 20s and a 1.
Oh my goodness.
There it is. Yeah.
Thank you, chat.
Thank
Reroll.
you. Okay, all right. I'm gonna reroll this. Ah! All right, that's way better. And that is, do I get any of my foci?
No.
Okay. Then 3 successes.
Fantastic. So the both of you get this number of successes you need. That does leave us at 4 momentum. Because you both spent 1. So Charlie, you kind of take over the con, not to pilot the ship so much, but to see what's going on and what you can do. And basically what you come up with real quick is that the reason it's doing this is that the Valdor class ships has 2 nacelles, one on each side at the end of the wings. One of them is still actively in warp and the other one is not, and it has broken the warp field, but it's still causing the ship to spin because one engine is going and the other one is not. So you cut the engine that's going and you burst the engine that's not in reverse, so it kind of slows the spin to a degree that is not overwhelming. Basically to a spin that the inertial dampeners can hit, because until this point they were overwrought. Anbara, while you're quickly looking to see what you can fix, you recognize that some of the input for the upgrade is wrong, and it's not what you or Charlie put in. It's what the lieutenant put in.
Oh.
And it looks like a general mistake, not an actual like a choice, but just like he put a dot where it didn't belong.
Yeah.
And that can throw everything off.
Yeah.
And as the ship kind of comes to a slows down, and it's still struggling for a couple of minutes, the sub-commander, who also has kind of been disheveled and tossed about, gets up. You hear calls for a medic to come grab the lieutenant and to check you, and you're kind of holding your arm, and you point the mistake out. Can I get you to roll presence and engineering?
Those
I'll
for
say
me?
I'm sorry, on Bara. And I will say warp field dynamics does apply.
I'm sorry, what was the roll again?
Presence and engineering.
Okay.
This is about how you present it to him. Difficulty is going to be 1.
Okay. How much momentum do we have?
We have 4.
Okay. I'll buy it. I'll buy another dice with 1. Just to be safe, because I don't trust my dice after that incident. Ooh, but I got a crit. Presence and engineering. Okay. So we get 3.
Fantastic. So you'll actually generate 2. While you're walking walking the sub-commander through it, her brows furrow and she looks very angry. And then as she's listening to what you're saying, seems to calm down. And she says, "Thank you, Commander. The lieutenant seems to have gotten a little overexcited and made a mistake, and this is why we don't make mistakes." The lieutenant is laying on the ground with a medic at him, next to him at this point, and he's back away. And when she says that, he kind of cringes, but is helped to his feet and then kind of led off to sick bay. A medic comes to you and scans your arm, and he says, "I probably can set this, but it might be better to have your doctor take a look at it. We don't work on a lot of Cardassian Bajorans."
If you can give me something for the pain.
Absolutely. And he Romulan hypo sprays you. I assume they have hypo sprays.
Yeah.
Who knows? And the pain deadens pretty quickly, and then he does kind of help you sling up your arm enough so that there's no weight on it. The sub-commander kind of corrects the programming, and she says, "It looks like from the readouts I've gotten, this would have worked had the numbers been incorrectly. I think that we've had a successful test, or would have had a successful test. But this is nobody's fault, really. Even the lieutenant can... I can overlook his enthusiasm. Let's turn around and see if we can get back. We will take it a little bit slower, so it's going to take a little bit longer, probably half an hour, 45 minutes. We have the captain... the commander of the Draken has already informed the Serenitis what's going on."
Oh no, how horrid. We get to enjoy this collaborative process that has been exceptionally exciting for both of our parties.
Exactly. Oh, that would have been awkward. I almost shared my screen. So the ship warps back. The upgrades have been taken offline, but the ship warps back. You have about half hour to kind of go through a little bit of what their engineering looks like, and the sub-commander's happy to walk you through what's going on, while he sends off several engineers to do some cleanup and some just checks to make sure everything is correct and nothing else blew out that didn't get noted. We will take that time to hop back over to Lieutenant Commander Cooper. Commander, you wake up in the morning. You don't have any specific duties today other than be available, and then obviously you're going to have reports towards the end of the day. Where do you head?
So I'd probably do just a bit of strolling of the halls. I'd walk through engineering, notice that nobody's there, and kind of go, oh, they must be hiding out somewhere else. And you know, if I really wasn't being very occupied, I might squeeze a workout in.
Sure. As you are about halfway through your workout, there is a chime for you.
Cooper here.
Yes, Commander Cooper. My name is. I'm sorry. My name is Lieutenant Baylor.
What can I do for you?
With Starfleet Intelligence. Are you in a private location?
No. But I can be there shortly. I can be in one shortly.
Please, that would be fantastic.
So I'll go to my office and
Sure.
presumably he'll call me from there.
Yeah. You reconnect a couple minutes later. It says, Commander, it's my understanding that you've been in contact with a major of the Tal Shiar, is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Cooper, can you give me let's call it a control command. We'll put diplomacy on that as you get the focus there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a difficulty at 2.
Oh, no, it's spreading!
Oh no.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yes, I approve of this for some reason.
We do not need complications on this roll.
I have 0 successes and 1 complication.
You're not familiar with the Lieutenant Baylor, but maybe there's one on the ship.
Oh, Tentacle Greg spending my grace.
Oh yeah. If you want to reroll, you go right ahead. I'm happy to. Tentacle Greg earned a lot of channel playing in X-Crawl, so.
All right, so no complication this time, but only
Okay.
only 1 success. Yeah.
Success. So you don't know. You're not familiar with Lieutenant Baylor, but you think you know who all the intelligence officers are on board. You'd have to check with Commander Chevron to be positive, but you don't think that there's anyone on the ship by that name.
Okay.
Also, the ability to call through the wormhole is minimal at best. So if they're not on the ship and they're not calling through the wormhole, they're on another. This Lieutenant Baylor is on another ship somewhere within the quadrant.
Yes, you're correct that I've been approached by this major.
Starfleet Intelligence would like to have you continue any formal interactions with him with the intent of...
Your information may be off. This is a she.
Oh. My file is incorrectly noted then. Yes, you will continue all formal interactions with her and do your best to begin the process of turning her into a usable informant.
I can certainly continue positive interactions. We would have to discuss even how, and I mean, out of character, I don't know if information lieutenant should be telling lieutenant commander what to do.
Questionable, yeah.
Okay, and we can also look at some chain of command situations.
This order does come from the Admiralty. I'm sending my command codes now, and your computer kind of chimes with a very light dossier on who Lieutenant Baylor is, and the command codes you're seeing do match what you would expect to get from Admiral Giovanni, who is over kind of over the Gamma Quadrant as a whole, but not real. Like, it's a secondary command area for Admiral Giovanni, and still temporary, but it is Admiral Giovanni's appropriate coding that would show you that it's an appropriate order.
Well, this all seems to check out. You know, as I said, I'll do my best in this effort. I don't know that I've had any experience or knowledge of how to train informants, so
I would encourage you to speak with your your chief of security, and perhaps your strategic operations officer. The two of them should have more information on how to continue this, but this will be a long-term project.
very well.
Lieutenant Baylor out. And the chime goes away, and there's silence.
Yeah,
No
kind of
direction.
just, you know,
No direction for months, and then, hey, do this thing you've never been trained to do.
yeah, and apparently there are other people who can tell you more about what you're supposed to be doing. Let's kind of take that in. You know, he hasn't had, this is his really kind of first interactions with this type of intelligence. Obviously, going into diplomatic situations, there's all sorts of intelligence pieces that are shared and that kind of stuff, but more espionage type stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, he's not being asked to do anything now that is certainly against his nature or way, but he kind of has concerns that perhaps he might be asked that.
Do you want to report any of that interaction?
Since it's signed from the Admiralty, I don't know. Well, yes.
Okay.
Provided there wasn't anything in what I already forgot the intelligence agent's name. I'm sorry. Baylor. I mean, Baylor didn't say not to. He mentioned some people for me to go talk to. So, I report to Colada, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So, I'd kind of, you know, like, put in whatever the future version of like an email, like, not that I need to like say it like right away, but just like, hey, when you got some time, I need to talk to you about something.
So yeah, Colada, I would say about halfway through the day, you've gotten a report that the Valdor, or that the Draken has had some trouble with their engines on their test. Everyone's okay. There's an injury with that Commander Onbara has sustained, but that the Valdor is taking its time getting back. It's going to be half hour, 45 minutes before they get back from where they're at. And then you get your request from Commander Cooper to meet when you have time. Your
Okay.
day's been pretty. I mean, you've always got reports and you've always got things to look into, but your day's not been super exciting. The Commander Cooper's team has done a lot of meet and greet and be around and, hey, try out this Earth or Andoran or Vulcan drink, kind of like friendly things. And they're doing a fine job. You've got good reports from them. You've got good reports from engineering. Everything seems to be going decently well. But you don't have anything pressing right this second that would keep you from meeting with.
And has
Everything
there...
went pretty well except for getting the report about the spaceship spinning out of control.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... With some of the stuff we've seen, that's...
Like, listen,
kind of not
there was a
unexpected.
tree growing in a ship that tried to eat people. Like, this is not that bad.
Yeah. On the scale of weirdness, it's definitely very low.
Yeah.
Has the captain had any response to the intelligence agent approaching us?
Captain Threx is cautious, but that is generally his approach to things. Thinks that if the two of you were approached, that obviously the two of you should maintain contact and see what can and can't be ascertained. He feels like this might be a genuine attempt.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll ask Zeke to come up to the office then.
Sure. Yeah, so he appears a few minutes later. I assume he's sonic showered by now, so he doesn't look like he was just working out.
Correct. He's clean and presentable.
Commander Cooper, what can I do for you?
Got an interesting message today. A Lieutenant Baylor reached out to me. I'm an intelligence officer. I'm sure that your memory is just as good as mine, and that is not an officer that we have on our ship.
Yeah, can I get an insight and command roll from Halada? And diplomacy will apply.
What's the difficulty?
2.
What's our momentum at?
6.
I will definitely spend one.
Okay, that'll put us down to 5.
Four successes.
Okay, well, we'll gain that back. You don't know. There is definitely not any intelligence officer on this ship named Lieutenant Baylor. There's no one named Baylor on this ship. There's a couple of lieutenants in the intelligence department, but they are not named Baylor.
Ooh, I have access to logs of everybody who's in the quadrant.
You would. After going through, there are a total of 4 Federation ships, the binary being one, and there are 2 others.
Okay.
Whose names are the Ska and the Nanumbo, I want to say. None of them have a Lieutenant Baylor on staff. However, while looking into it, Zeke probably doesn't. While looking into the name Baylor, a note comes up in the computer that Baylor is the name of what could be considered a demon from Earth lore. Back in ancient Earth Ireland, Baylor was kind of a half fairy, half Fomori thing, and was dangerous and scary. And the more that you look into this, the name doesn't pop up anywhere else. None of the ships have a Baylor on them at all. None of them really have a full-time intelligence officer. They have a security, one or more securities who have been assigned intelligence duties. So there's nothing here that matches. That doesn't mean that there's not. That doesn't mean that the transmission wasn't legit. It just means that it didn't come from someone using their act.
Right. And so we have 2 paths we can wander down. Either an opposing intelligence agency has good enough intelligence on us to duplicate Admiralty codes, which is terrifying, or this is a legitimate order.
Great.
Unless I'm missing something.
I'm scared either way.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey Matt, can I spend a momentum to know if I'm missing something?
Yes. Section 31 got mentioned. recently.
Yes, it did.
They're known for using like cover IDs that are not necessarily like on point. They'll take a name, doesn't matter what it is. The rank might only matter because it's an officer of rank. It's not some ensign or some, uh like junior grade lieutenant. To be a lieutenant, you have to have some oomph behind you and have gotten to that point. But if that's the case, then it would be a matter of trying to track the transmission, which you could have security do for sure, and see if you could come up with it. But if it is a Section 31 member, the Admiralty codes might be legitimate. They may have them to use in
Right,
situations
because
like
they can be at any level.
right.
Yay. Oh, I don't like it when things get twisty. That is in character.
I don't either, Commander. But yet they
Alright.
are.
We will have security follow up on it. We will verbally report this to the captain. And we will attempt to give away as little as humanly possible, or occasionally possible, to this person while getting as much information out of them as we can, and hopefully it doesn't actually end up in an enemy's hands.
Why don't I have you, Halana, why don't you roll me a reason?
You cut out, at least
I'm
for
sorry.
me.
Can you roll a reason command for me? Difficulty is
Sure.
going to be a 2. This is you commanding someone else to do the security thing.
Okay. Difficulty?
2?
You said 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh no! It is spreading.
I got a 1 and I got 1 success and a complication.
Okay. Okay.
We're just having fun tonight,
Yeah.
just ripping holes in probability and causality.
Well, I was giving it a little time because I was expecting Greg to come through, and there he is. Go ahead and reroll.
Okay. That is still just 1 success, but the complication is gone. Thank you, Greg.
Fantastic. You get back from security that it's going to take them time to track it. It looks like it was weirdly routed. The first tracing shows that it came from the holodeck.
Okay.
And that doesn't seem right. They're going to have to look into it deeper.
Okay.
However, that does suggest to you that the activities are more likely Section 31 than legitimate Starfleet intelligence.
So ramping the paranoia up as high as it will go.
Right.
Yeah.
So you two head to the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in his ready room, and when you show up, he welcomes you. Please sit down. What can I do for you?
Commander Cooper had a disturbing call this morning.
I see.
That provided codes from the Admiralty and ordered him to recruit the major that spoke to us last night as, I guess, a double operative?
See.
Informant was the order, technically, Commander.
Informant.
And where did these orders come from?
A Lieutenant Baylor, who does not seem to exist.
There's no one that I'm aware of on this ship. I don't think there's anyone in the Quadrant Federation ship.
The records say there is not. Also, security did a preliminary trace on the call at my request, and it appeared to come from the holodeck.
I see.
So they're trying to track down where it actually came from.
But that will be difficult if this was something covert.
Yes.
Well, Plotto, you and I should have a conversation with Rosrin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start working on obtaining our command codes and working on locking down the ship communications a little bit more so we can better next time if there's more communication. Commander Cooper, Mr. Cooper, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't become better acquainted with the maid. If what she says is on the up and up, and I don't foresee a reason it isn't, then we would be starting down a road, a very long road. Let's see whether or not you can turn her as a contact or not is a whole other issue. And frankly, if I remember your file correctly, that is not something you're trained.
It's not.
So that is a longer term concern, although I would say Mr. Chevrin and members of his team might have some insight on how to manner. Let's not tap that too quickly. I'll bring in Mr. Chevrin. Let's see that it's necessary. For now, it stays with the three of us and Lieutenant Irax only.
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent.
Permission to take out a shuttlecraft, Captain?
A shuttlecraft?
But I might take the Major on a ride, one-on-one time.
I believe that would be fantastic.
Hey.
So, is there a way we can present this to Lieutenant Irax without making their already paranoid self go into overdrive?
Absolutely. But that's something a young officer has to learn, and I think that the lieutenant will rebalance when the time is right. He's been pretty on point for everything he's been worried about at this point. So is it paranoia or perhaps preparedness?
Fair. It is a very fun line sometimes.
It is. It's hard to argue when he keeps saying, "But the Cardassians," and then it turns out to be so.
He's also a good counterpoint to me. So.
That's true. That is true. We all have a place to serve on that bridge. So we will keep it to the four of us. Mr. Cooper, please feel free to take one of the shuttlecraft and enjoy your time. Do what you can. Just don't give away the store.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else that you need of me?
Not at this time. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. So the two of you kind of head out back onto the bridge. The captain picks up another report and starts going through it. Anbara and Charlie, you guys drive out of warp, just right next to the Serenitis. Anbara, you get beamed directly to medical. Get checked out real quick. They reset your arm. It's not comfortable. It's a pretty painful experience, but it goes pretty quick.
I just imagine she's just like protesting the whole time, like, I need to get back to dad! Just need to do the thing! Just give me something for the pain!
Well, Charlie's hurt.
Yeah, Charlie, you also get beamed straight to medical, but they give you a once over, make sure everything looks good. They probably bumps and scrapes and just give you a quick dermal regeneration. Nothing terrible. You guys can mark any stress off that you took. Since we're out past that scene, it comes right off. You're in medical probably for an hour or so. Setting the bone is a process, and then checking both of you to make sure everything's okay is a bit of a process. At the end of it, though, or towards the end of it, you get a message from the sub-commander. Commander Anbara.
Yes. Sub-commander.
The lieutenant is feeling quite a bit better, and was curious if we wanted to test the engines of the Serenitis. He has promised that he will not do any of the input himself.
I see you run your crewmen as effectively as I do. Commander Charlie, what are your thoughts? Do you think give it a go?
I mean, there's always risk with experimentation. We might as well try the risk.
Exactly. We do not know unless we try.
Well, then, should we give it an hour or so, and then I will meet you when you're in?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Let's do it.
You realize, the both of you realize that it had several hours probably since you've eaten. So stopping and grabbing food is not necessarily a bad idea, especially since, you've both been up all night.
Eating pizza rolls.
Is there anything else the two of you want to do before we get to the engines, or?
Probably do that, give them a brief report of oh yeah, we totally did the thing.
Oh, I assumed Halada came down when you hit sick bay just to check on you, and you gave a brief report. You'll type up something later, but mistakes happen. What are you gonna do?
And again, I want for Halada to take note that Umbara will be the worst person when it comes to being injured in combat. Just complaining, but when it comes to interrupting from engineering, it's just slap something on me and send me back. I'll be fine.
All right. So yeah, you guys get your report done. You eat a little bit. You head back to engineering. It's right about that time that the Romulans come in. The lieutenant looks almost exactly the same. You just pick up on this kind of vibe that he feels ashamed.
Something wrong?
While all of the injuries were treatable, my enthusiasm caused me to put in information incorrectly and could have killed all of us. And
I mean, but it didn't because of my brilliance.
And my brilliance.
I mean, yes, you did help.
Save the day.
It is, I believe, further proof that our working with the Federation only strengthened the Romulan. You see the sub-commander just barest of nods, yes, that's absolutely correct.
Again though, we are working with things that are in ways that are new and unfamiliar to both parties. I would say, honestly, I am thankful to the prophets that the mistake was one that was correctable in the time that in the time that we were able to discover it, and nothing of value or consequence was actively lost, nor put in a state where it was beyond repair. So all things considered, at least the initial test run, I would consider to be close to the parameters of success, and I look forward to seeing how we can improve upon it now, because we know what we did wrong before.
Can I get you to give me a presence command roll?
Okay. That's not gonna be great. Can I count
It's a difficulty 1.
Okay. I'm gonna buy a third dice, and can I get my linguistics back?
Yeah, I'll let that count as a focus. Sure.
I got 2 successes.
Fantastic. So you'll earn that back. You'll go right back to 5 momentum.
Mhm.
He seems kind of bolstered by what you've said. He doesn't feel as bad. The sub commander just kind of nods and gives you a look that almost feels like a pat on the back kind of thing, but not quite.
Like in a
Just that-
good way or like a you're stepping on toes kind of way?
Oh, in a good way. In a
Okay,
good way.
okay.
But it's also like Romulans don't show a lot of outer emotions, so this is a very like minimal look. Like this would be the kind of thing that were you among humans or even Bajorans, they'd be like clapping you on the back and like shaking hands. There's just like an eyebrow raise and like a half smile. That's all you get.
Okay. So I imagine like the Cardassian part of her who's used to seeing emotions obscured and like exploited is like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. So can I get both of you to give me reason and engineering or science, whichever's better, to input the information into the. This is where you definitely want to roll as many complications as possible. I'm hoping for 13, perhaps 14.
And all of the momentum on extra dice.
I got a 1 and a 3. 4 successes. Wait, do I also get my specs for this?
Your focuses? Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, no. Yeah, so 4 successes.
Oh.
Thank you, sparkly pinky dice.
Well, we've got some momentum bought, like 3 of them. One of them
Thank
puts
you.
us a cap. We're gonna float with 2 kind of hanging out there for a second. How many successes how many successes did you get, Charlie?
3.
3. So there's 7 successes. Yeah, between the 3 of you, you put in information into the computer, preparing to kind of adjust the warp signature or the warp field. Are you prepared to? Are you prepared to kind of go to warp?
I mean, kinda, but feels like after last time we should do like our due diligence and take the extra 10 minutes.
We're gonna check our work.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Give me another roll. Same thing.
I'm gonna buy. Use one of those points of momentum for additional die.
Same here.
Fantastic. That's going to leave us at 6 still, because you were already 2 over. Also, I assume you called down Halada to do some piloting when the time is right?
Yeah.
4 successes.
So between the 2 of you, you look over everything. Everything looks good. Everything seems to slot just right. You double check everyone's work, and it all looks pretty good. So you're prepared to go to warp, Commander Halada. Let's get you to give me a control and con, and we're gonna call it composure applies.
Okay. Did we did we warn the, sizable crew that we were doing this? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's the difficulty?
It's going to be a difficulty of 3.
I am definitely buying a die.
Fantastic. That'll put us down to 5.
You said control con, right?
Yep.
Well, that is a 14, a 15, and a 16, none of which are successes.
Oh. Well, that's no good. If only we had someone in chat that would buy a reroll. Hopefully Greg hasn't walked away. Yeah, that's like you're supposed to be good at this. What's going on?
I am supposed to be good at this. I don't think a 13 is bad. I just rolled very badly.
Yeah. Wow, that's weird. There you go. That's yeah. So yeah, go ahead and reroll because I'll buy you a reroll. Because you should actually be good enough at this that it's not a problem. There we go. Whew.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's much better. That's 3 successes.
Fantastic. So as you push it into warp, there is some like you can feel the rumble and the shake of the actual ship in a way that tells you something's a little out of alignment.
Okay.
But you keep yourself, you keep the ship kind of appropriately balanced with its engines and navigation. Charlie and Anbara, you notice where not necessarily there was a wrong calculation, but where just the reality of doing a test like this is going to come up with these little things, and you realign a couple of things, and everything smooths out. Basically, the warp field was just not quite matching around the ship and was causing some shake. But after you get that far, in your you've got the kind of the shake and the shimmy out of the flight. Setha actually kind of taps Anbara on the shoulder and says, "Look, the output's actually even better than we expected. It's 3.79."
Oh my. Ah, the profits. This is incredible.
I think
Because of-
that
My calculations.
I would say it is the strength of our working together in this reciprocative gesture, each of us making the other parties stronger.
Yes, I've made your work stronger.
the subcommander nods and says, Setha says, "I can't say that I have anything but agreement with you. In fact, Commander Halada, I would like to suggest that perhaps an exchange of crew might be helpful, even if it was just something innocuous. I think that my engineers could learn something from the way that Starfleet does things, and I think that there are opportunities to see what the Romulan Empire does that Starfleet officers could perhaps learn as well. I would have to pass this by my captain, but if you wouldn't mind passing it by yours."
I can certainly put the idea in his brain.
Excellent. You drop out of warp, kind of turn it around and go back. The warp is only a couple of minutes, but it gets you the readings you need.
Turned into weird lizard people.
Right. You get back to your original.
We didn't go
position.
back in time.
Whoa, just throwing shade of lizard.
No, because of that episode of Voyager where they get devolved into weird lizards, and then it ends with like Janeway being a cougar, all like. So remember that time we lizard fucked?
I would like to remind everyone that not only did that happen, but then they left their babies on a planet to fend for themselves.
Yes!
I'm sorry, what?
Yes! Consider it the worst episode of Star Trek.
I
there
have
are so
a
many.
lot to process about this show as I go
Paris
through it.
went faster than Warp 10.
Yeah.
And evolved, not devolved, evolved into a lizard. Then stole Captain Janeway. Went back faster than Warp 10 to cause her to evolve into a. They had lizard babies together in the time that it took Voyager to find them. The Doctor was able to reverse all the lizard, but did nothing with the lizard babies and left them on the planet.
My
Also,
goodness.
the evolved form that they became was basically Komodo dragons. Like,
Yeah,
they literally just used Komodo dragons.
Yeah.
And then they, and again, the episode ends literally with Janeway being like, "So, remember when we hooked up, and it's like, ah!
Okay, so they didn't like evolve into anthropomorphic lizards like Gorn.
No.
They were just
Well,
straight
they
up
did
lizards.
originally. So originally, Paris starts becoming a humanoid lizard, and then the perfect form is the Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a lot to look forward to as I watch these shows.
You could
It's
put
called
giant quotes
Threshold.
around look forward to.
Well,
Threshold is the episode, I believe.
Yeah.
It is.
I have a long way to go, so.
It's so bad.
Star Trek offers lots of different things to many different people.
So you guys arrive back at your position. Everything seems fine. The engineers start doing their engineer chattering. Halada, you answer con questions as needed since there were corrections and you kind of had to compensate. We're gonna, while the three of you deal with that, we're gonna pop over to Zeke. Zeke, how do you just tell the major you want to take them out on a joyride?
I'd ping them. I wouldn't want to try to find where they are and just show up, because I'm not going to try to beat an intelligence officer at her own game. And then I just kind of say, I have some information to share. If you'd care to join me, thought maybe we could take out a shuttlecraft and just get some direct one-on-one time.
Absolutely, Commander. We should definitely do that. I've been interested to see your shuttlecraft.
So let's meet in Hangar Bay 3.
Okay,
You probably already know where that is,
skilled
but
pilot. No. You're an actually skilled pilot. I was a little worried there for a second. I looked up at Charlie's sheet and was like, "Con? Who needs con?"
no, Zeke's an amateur flight buff, so.
So yeah, you take out the shuttlecraft. Kind of not too far from the ship, but do like some maneuvers to make it look like you're not just sitting out in the shuttlecraft for no reason whatsoever and be all conspicuous.
There's anything like pretty nearby, park,
Yeah. And she says, "Okay, Commander. What did you wish to discuss?"
Do you know that I've been contacted by Starfleet Intelligence?
I would assume at some point they were going to. I'm a little surprised it was that quick.
Well, apparently, after all your time of hoping to have heard something, you've finally borne some fruit. Intelligence reached out, wants to make sure that you and I are pals. It's an Earth term for friends.
I'm familiar with it.
So
I would say that I'm obviously amicable to that, but what does that mean for
you? I certainly don't know that I know why your previous agent or the Tal Shiar chose to make that contact with me, and then subsequently, it certainly makes sense to follow up once that contact is established. So it means that in my diplomatic and ambassador type role, having open communications with the Romulans.
Fantastic. I would like to ask a favor.
Can't say is that I wouldn't be too surprised if you did.
While we are keeping an eye on the True Way, I would like to request that were Starfleet to come across any ships captained by a species called the Reman, that you would contact me and let me know. The Remans are from the moon of Romulans.
Okay.
Are a member of the Romulan Empire, and during the Dominion War were used as additional troops. I'm sure that were they to tell you about it, they would tell you that we use them as shock troops and put them in the most dangerous situations, and I can't disagree with the assessment, to be honest. However, it is possible that there have been some ships lost that we believe lost in the war, but are still around, and that the Remans in charge of them are no longer loyal to the Romulan Empire. That could mean many things. Could just mean that they want to live their lives fit, and if that's the case, I don't know how quickly we would want to track them down. However, there could be others that are using this time to build up strength, and perhaps others that would follow them, and we would be concerned about the security threats of such a
I won't make you a promise sitting here that I don't know that I can keep. But it is something that I will consult with, the powers that may communicate through me, and let them know that that's information that you're interested.
Well, we will. I look forward to finding out what your eventual answer to that request is. I know that the intention to send information about the true way doesn't change dependent upon that answer. If you choose not to give or not to forward information about Remans you may find, that will not change our intent to share any information about the true.
Hopefully that will go a long way towards showing Starfleet intelligence that it's going to be beneficial to work together. I'm not enough of a player in these games to act as an independent agent. Don't know that I want to be, so I hope you'll understand my role in that.
You are a diplomat first and foremost, and I can appreciate that. I serve a different role, but that's my place, not yours.
Agreed.
How long do you spend out in the shuttle?
Once the talking's done, not much more than that. Maybe run through a few more test things just so that if anybody's kind of watching, like, why I took the shuttle out or whatever,
She does ask a few more questions about you personally, like where you grew up, what you did for fun, just in natural conversation kind of feel. There are a couple of times you answer, and it's like she already knew the answer. But there are a couple of times you answer, and it's almost like she's taking mental notes.
Okay.
And it's nothing, and all of it's innocuous. None of it is like anything you would need to be worried about giving her about. It's all stuff that would be in any like quick look into you, like, oh, what was your favorite, game as a child? Is the kind of stuff she's asking. It's not anything, she's not asking for your access code. And she, if you ask similar questions of her, she gives the same, like she gives that information.
Yeah, pieces that I thought would be relevant to understanding who she is, maybe leaning more on my counseling type aspect to kind of be like, not like seriously like ask like the deep questions or whatever, but
right. Why don't you give me an insight medicine, and you can use your focus in psychiatry. It's going to be a difficulty. She's Romulan.
Yeah.
Getting a read on a Romulan's pretty.
What was the difficulty?
3.
Are we capped on momentum?
Yeah, we still are.
So I'll buy one.
Sure.
No.
Oh, I hate to hear that.
Yeah, no. There's only one thing that kind of no means. I have 2 successes and a complication.
Wow, that's ooh. You guys are having fun with these complicated. This is not the This is not the story that I wanted all these threats from. Like, we could have done this last week when I was trying to murder you.
We should be playing D&D. That's what I'm hearing. We should be playing D&D.
There's a reroll chat if you want.
I want to keep the Romulans secret. I don't want to actually learn anything. It's easier to be paranoid that way.
That sounds good to me. We'll just have you reroll that complication so you don't fail, or so you don't get something bad. Turns out you're allergic to Romulans, and you pass out. Yeah. So you try and get a read on her. What the little bit you gather is essentially that Romulan culture is harsh. It reminds you in some ways of what you've read about Cardassian culture, in that status is important and the what people believe is more important than what is true. And that is a very difficult, windy, diplomatic thing to kind of have to navigate, especially as a child. But like that's in the dossier for all Romulans anyway, so not really super helpful, but kind of gives you another like firsthand kind of knowledge about that. You spend a little bit of time out there, coming back and land just in time for the captain to invite you and the major down to the Dapple Doe. Commander Halada and Anbara and Charlie, you all three are also invited. It has been several days at this point that the two ships have been there, and the commander from the other ship has joined them. Has joined everyone in the Dapple Doe. The captain makes a kind of rousing speech about the greatness of working together and diversity, meaning new ideas help shape each other. It just is it's kind of like a mission accomplished meeting or like celebration. The Romulans and the engineering crew all seem pretty happy. Everything goes really well. Everybody just seems, like it was a good time. Everything feels real positive. Except for you, Commander Halada.
Yeah.
Because inkling in the back of your head is just this idea that one of these crew members, any of them, could be a member of Section 30. And that could put the ship in danger. And it's not necessarily a nagging thing, but just like as you're looking out over the crew, you're kind of getting what Rosrin goes through on a regular. I think that's a good place for us to end this episode. Hey, this was Ulterior Motion, because I make good names for episodes. Next week we are back. Phil is running the game for Telemara. I will be playing. Literally, I'm just going to slide into that spot where Phil is, and Phil's going to slide over to where I'm at. It's going to be great. So come back for that. Tomorrow night is By Leaps and Bounties, Chapter 7. Come out to see how many times that they can make their NPC cry. So far, it's been a rousing good time of making them cry. There's a tracker to see how many times that's happened. It continues to go up because they're mean pirates, I guess. I don't know. That NPC has some feels. Charles has some sincere feels. So definitely come out for that. Thursday is Ninja Crusade, Growing Shadows. So definitely come out for Growing Shadows, see what's going on with our ninjas and what kind of ninja fun they're getting into. And then, of course, on Sunday, we're going to be back with Illuminated Page. We might actually get on a train that isn't a Doom train this time. The last time, who knows? That was a weird pocket dimension we didn't enjoy. Maybe we could not do that ever again. So
it's gonna be a Doom train. You know this,
right? Yeah, yeah. It was filled with.
Run it in reverse. It'll be a mood train.
Like, listen, there was a heart going around a train track made out of intestines. It was disturbing to say the least.
But can you suplex the Doom train?
No. So definitely come out for those. Don't forget, if for the next 2 weeks, if you subscribe here on Twitch, or you go over to Ko-Fi and donate all of that money that would come from proceeds to Rook and Rasp. It's instead going to go to the Red Cross for their help in the Ukraine during this very weird time. So definitely, if you have a chance to do that and you feel like you want to give, that would be a fantastic way to know that you support us while also supporting others. So feel free to hit the subscribe button or go over to Ko-Fi and donate there. Otherwise, from all of us over here at Rook and Rasp, this has been a fantastic night of espionage and engineering, and we thank you for coming out. We will talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.